What's up, guys? Welcome back to Man Up Daily. Today, I want to ask you something a lot of you have probably already been sitting with, even if you've never really said it out loud. So you ask God for one miracle, the real kind, the one you couldn't fix yourself. So you finally handed the whole thing to him and then you just waited. Nothing came. Maybe it's the marriage you've begged him to save. Maybe it's the son who stopped calling you back. Maybe it's that diagnosis, right? Or the account that's hemorrhaging faster than your own paycheck can fill it. You brought God the one thing only he could touch, and the silence since then has started to feel like an answer of its own, right? Like that's all you're getting. But there's one question that is just leaving you stuck. Does God still do miracles? Or did God stop doing miracles somewhere in the Bible? You know, it's interesting because God asked a version of the same question first, back when his people watched their whole world fall apart. In Jeremiah 32:27, it says, "I am the Lord, the God of all the peoples of the world. Is anything too hard for me?" Keyword anything, guys. Not most things, not the easy ones, anything at all. There's no situation in your life landing in his, too hard pile, because he doesn't have one. He just doesn't. So then you're like, okay, why am I receiving all of this silence? We clearly know it's not that he ran out of power. What I think we tend to forget is that God rarely moves on our own schedule or build the fix the exact shape we drew it up, like it's supposed to go from A to B. It never goes that way. Sometimes what looks like a no is God lining up a yes you haven't even seen yet. And sometimes the miracle isn't the thing getting removed at all. It's you getting carried through it in a way you couldn't manage on your own because God has a better plan. Both are still his hand at work, even when only one looks like what you prayed for. I'll give you my own story from a couple of close guys that are from my church. One right now had been married for years. His wife is going through severe Alzheimer's. It's in the end stages, and he has been praying fervently that, they'll figure out a way to be able to medically manage the situation, have the right hands, the medical hands to assist with whether it's hospice or whatnot. But what do you do in a situation like that? You just been on your hands and knees praying for the assistance you need, and you feel like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. This is another buddy of mine. He received yesterday that his first wife passed away in April from ALS. And he's just now putting together why she had stopped communicating with him several years ago, because clearly it seems like she didn't want to inundate him with the suffering of ALS that she was going through. He's praying for some kind of miracle that he can just have reinforced, strengthened faith and then really just stay away from the anger that he has inside of him because he's blaming himself. And then I have another buddy of mine that he's wonderfully married. Him and his wife, they're really sick right now. They're going through some illness. I don't know what came of it, but they're just like, God, can you please get us through it? Their family's really sick right now. These are just all of these situations were just told to me within the past week. And so you can only imagine what everyone else is going through. Whether they get that terrible diagnosis, someone left the house, there's a major argument, family hasn't spoken in years. Guys, there's all kinds of things people are on their hands and knees begging to God for a miracle for. But despite all of these challenges these close men in my life are going through, what you're watching right now are dead men who chose to get up and do something about it, who continue to do something about it. The only reason that these men are who they are today and who they continue to be, and the reason I am the man I am today, is because Jesus' resurrection is the only reason that we're standing here, that I'm standing here talking to you. God let his own son die on a cross and go all the way down into a grave, period. And then for 3 days, it looked like the worst thing had won. And I think we tend to overlook that. Then on the third day, he walked out, and death hasn't been the same since. It just hasn't. Let me just put it to you this way. If God walks out of the grave, nothing you've handed him is too hard. You just got to let that sink in for a minute. This is the realest part I want you to hear, man. The realest miracle on earth right now isn't a healed back or a check landing on time. That's not it. And it took me a long time to put this together, to really see it from this, because this is a miracle in itself. It's someone dead in sin getting made new and handed heaven. Here you go. And it's free. Just think about that. A healed body lasts a few decades, right? Cool, we're healed, we're better. But a soul pulled out of hell that lasts forever, That's forever. When I sat back and actually was like, my gosh, someone getting saved, that's a miracle in itself. It completely changed my perspective on if God does miracles. And if you're listening right now and you've never handed him the real thing, not the prayer request, your actual life, that miracle is sitting open in front of you today. It's right there. Jesus said this to a room full of people. Sure, their situation was way beyond saving. And he said this in Luke 18:27. What is impossible for people is possible with God. And you really have to sit in that and believe it. That's right where a lot of the men that I know that I talk to right now are sitting at. You've run out of moves, and that's usually right where God gets to work. Right when you're just like, I can't do this. Because the worst thing that a man can say, the absolute worst thing, is I got this. But when you're all out of moves, that is when God gets to work. I'm not going to promise you the miracle lands this week. Sometimes he heals the body, sometimes he carries you through the weight, and only later do you see how much of the load was never yours to carry alone. What I can tell you is that he hasn't walked away from you, not even in the silence that feels most awkward to you or most uncomfortable. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He's always with you. So here's what I want you to do while you wait. I want you to say the miracle out loud, plainly, the way you'd say it to like your dad, the way you'd say it to a father who's actually going to be there to help, not like this pristine, polished version you'd say in front of other people to make it sound good. Not something like that. Watch for the small works too, not like only the big ones, because most weeks God moves in ways you'll miss if you're only watching for like the big headline. Like, where is it? It's the little things, guys, too, that are literal stepping stones to the bigger miracle. I really try to sit in those moments, those little moments. Write down one thing this week, tracing straight back to God and nobody else. When the doubt gets loud, I want you guys to preach the empty grave back to yourself until it quiets down. Remember what God did, the one and only miracle. When you're praying for a miracle, who do you need to lean on, and who do you know will always get it done, regardless if it's the way you think it's supposed to be done. You need to trust God past your deadline. Tell him straight. You'll keep believing even if the answer comes later or different than you drew it up. And guys, remember, if the tomb is empty, anything is possible.